The conceit of that guy.
Yeah, they'll have to build him a special noose to get that swell head of his through.
There ain't no use in being scared of any of these big guys. The bigger they come, the harder they fall.
Cinematic Fantastic.
Klaatu, Burana, Nikto.
I'll show you who I am and what I am.
Bitten by a werewolf and lives, becomes a werewolf himself.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello and welcome to the Cinematic Fantastic Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Weatherford.
And your other host, William Weatherford.
Get ready for opinions, dad jokes,
and bad jokes
as we watch and review sci-fi and fantasy films from the classics of yesteryear to the new favorites of today.
If you wanted something to do in between seasons,
when you're missing us dearly and life feels uneven,
we'll stop on by and give you a lift. Brought you a present.
You brought you a gift.
This is a bonus episode, a little bit different from the ones you know.
4 theme movies in a row. Welcome to the bonus. Thankful that you joined us. Now here's the bonus episode.
Welcome back to Cinematic Fantastic, where we are still firmly into our Golden Gangsters theme, and we are still talking about the Edward G. Robinson film Little Caesar. The last time we talked about kind of the some of the production of the movie, and now we're talking about some other aspects connected to it, some ideas we had from the last time we talked, and kind of the plot, go over the plot of this movie and what we liked and didn't like about it and what we saw kind of, happening there, kind of some of the deeper themes or whatever we may have seen as the story unfolded. So, how's it going tonight, William?
Hello.
How's it going? How you doing?
I think I might have been a little bit too hot on the mic there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I will add that, hot mic. I keep thinking.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. I keep thinking about there's a Saturday Night Live skit where it has this this husband and wife singing team, and they're like playing music or whatever, and when they start talking and the mics start going, woo, do that whole thing. They start hot mic. It's a hot mic here. So I keep thinking when you said that, I started thinking about that.
Okay, so we usually do. Okay, this it's very different from what we usually do, because usually the other person starts because you're doing the plot for this one. I don't really know what to do without that. Also, just say we're not perfect people. Sometimes we're too hot on the mic. Sometimes the Zoom connection seems to be in the yellow bars, so that's not quite that good.
Yeah,
we'll persevere.
We're just shooting from the hip, so to speak. We're just pulling out our Tommy gun.
Such as that we spent so much time talking last time that we didn't get into the important actors of this movie. And honestly, I have not done much since then, just looking through what Edward G. Robinson, the main character of this, the actor for the main character of this movie, did. Lots of various gangster movies. He did theater, as most do. He did The Hole in the Wall in 1929 for Paramount, which was a silent film, and then a lot of various gangsterly films. We might have talked about this movie called Smart Money, where he was actually with James Cagney, the other gangster.
Yes, but James Cagney, they tried to kind of pigeonhole him and typecast him, as we've talked about. We've talked about typecasting a lot just in this podcast overall with a lot of these different actors. So that's interesting. But I think they tried to pigeonhole or typecast these guys, but the one that really stuck with, I think, was Edward G. Robinson, like I said last time, because he was an actor, but I don't really think he could sing or dance. To be honest, having a little bit of those extra, I don't know if he could play parts other than gangster. He really kind of just was good at that.
Edward G. Robinson was also in a couple other heavy hitters, such as Double Indemnity. That's a pretty good one. He was in The Woman in the Window. That's a Fritz Lang movie. Fritz Lang is a renowned German director. He was in The Stranger by Orson Welles.
I want to watch that with you sometime, just for the heck of it.
Key Largo as a gangster in Key Largo, which is another movie we're doing, and that has Humphrey Bogart in that. A fairly sophisticated platter, if I do say so myself.
We've seen Humphrey Bogart before. So some of these actors we've seen before. We'll see again. Yeah.
Apparently, he was considered for a role in the Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
The Planet of the Apes.
Yes, I'm wondering what
1968.
part it was. I don't know if it was one of the
Originally cast for
Dr.
Dr.
Zaius.
Zaius.
Yeah,
I have
Dr.
not seen the
Zaius.
movie though. Is Dr. Zaius the antagonist?
Yes, kind of. He's kind of representative of the apes that are believing the main character human to be a threat, and he's a heretic, and you got to get rid of. And then there's of course there's Cornelius and Zira, and they believe, especially Zira does, that humans, that they have the capacity of thought, and it's just I could see that. I could see that, because.
But yeah, not to get onto the Planet of the Apes train, which
we're gonna get on there at some point.
Don't get on that rocket ship. Resist. Okay, he was Sam Spade in a radio adaptation of the Maltese Falcon, a
noir.
Humphrey Bogart movie with lots of regard for noir.
Yeah.
Yes,
and he was just his
his
voice.
last role was in a science fiction film, Soylent Green.
No. That's right.
What was this? This was the Bad movie, wasn't
No,
this? I think this is why I clicked it, because it was part of the Bad movie.
No, Soylent Green is really good. I know who he was. There was a character named.
It's got Charlton
Heston. Yeah, there was a of course. There you go. There's his connection to Planet of the Apes, because Charlton Heston was in Planet of the Apes, but
he was also in the Ten Commandments.
No, that's right. That's true. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Soylent Green, it's a great movie.
That is a good one.
You get to see an old Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah, he's one of the older people. He remembers what the world was like before everything went to pot. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a great, late Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah, that's
role.
right. I remember some of his roles that he had later in life that were decent. But he really did get typecast as the gangster. See? Yeah, well, yeah, you're through.
Yeah, he was also a political activist, which, to scroll through a lot of this jibber-jabbering, as I don't seem to care too much for politics, the specific details of his politics. It seems he was involved with the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC. We've talked about him before.
Was he for it or against it?
Repudiated. Define
repudiated? Reputed?
Yes, repudiated.
Was it they thought he was a communist or something? Okay,
maybe.
Yeah.
He felt he had been duped and made use of unawares by the sister forces, who were members and probably in important positions in these organizations.
Okay, I see. So he had to fight that a lot. Yeah. But yeah. Edward G. Robinson, though, he's a decent actor, and I like his voice, but I can't help but remember him for the gangster roles.
Yeah, apparently at his death, his pal bearers, which is another new word to me.
Yeah, pall bearers. They
included Jack Warner himself of Warner Brothers.
Pall bearers are people that carry your coffin.
That's fun. They get to do the coffin dance.
No.
So Jack L. Warner, Warner.
that Warner.
Mervyn LeRoy, who is the director of this movie, I believe. Frank Sinatra was there.
Hey, Blue Eyes himself.
Was a gangster actor as well as a big band singer of fame. We got Alan Simpson here. He doesn't have a Wikipedia article here, so I don't know how important he is. But George Burns was there.
Yeah, George Burns. Yep, good stuff. Famous comedian and host and actor, whose career I think went well into the 80s. 1980s.
Yeah, and then we talked about earlier about how the gangster accent came along with Mel Blanc, the voice actor for Bugs Bunny,
right?
And the Bugs Bunny cartoon, Racketeer Rabbit in particular, had showcased a lot of the Edward G. Robinson parodies.
Yes.
Of which became the gangster zeitgeist for that iconic voice and representation in media.
Yes, I do remember some of those gangster things. There was a...
So that's the catch-up, more catching up. Another thing we were going to catch up on was when you hear the words Little Caesar, you think of Little Caesar's pizza, most iconically. And so we got to talk about some pizza, man. Let's talk about pizza.
All right, I want to talk about style.
Quintessential Italian
I want to
dish.
talk about like styles of pizza. If there's actually as many places as Italian immigrants, and even
this will feed into like whether Pizza Hut is good or not.
Well,
so,
we're talking about the
excited.
actual territories, right? So you've got New York style pizza, you've got Detroit style pizza, Chicago. There's even Greek style. There's Trenton, which is like a New Jersey. There's all these different, kind of areas wherever Italian immigrants came over here and kind of settled. The Chicago style. That's where that all came about. And the thing is, the styles are very different. I will tell you that I like New York style. New York style tends to be a kind of a slightly doughier crust, but like not super thin enough that you can actually take the big slices and fold them. Like if you've ever been to Sbarro's is a New York style kind of a franchise, and they're usually set up in malls and stuff like that. But you can get a big slice of pizza, and you fold it over and you eat it like that. Kind of like almost like you eat a taco. You fold it over.
Or like one of those flatbreads.
Yes. And Detroit style pizza is, I think, Jets is very similar to Detroit.
Yeah, what do you think of New Jersey pizza? Because I hear they have chili dogs over New Jersey.
Oh yeah. Well, Chicago is famous for chili dogs, but they also put tomatoes and all kind of other veggies and stuff on hot dogs, and I don't approve. I think you can put chili, you can put ketchup and mustard, you can put onions, and you can put sauerkraut. But I'm not a big fan of putting a lot of veggies onto hot dogs. I mean, at least not officially. If you're actually going to get a hot dog, you're going to get a dog, you need to get it with the right stuff on it. Anyway, see, I'm starting to talk with the accent for some reason. But
so what makes other styles notable in a couple?
Well, one thing
ways?
I was mentioning about Detroit style pizza is they have. It's kind of square. It's baked. I think is it pan baked? I don't remember. It's kind of square pizza. I think you've probably had it before if you've ever had Jet's pizza anywhere. But it's not bad. I think I like the crust. It's kind of like it's kind of a slightly chewy crust. I don't have a problem with that.
You think Jet's pizza is sort of like a Papa John's pizza?
Yeah, kind of.
Are they sort of similar?
They're more expensive, slightly more expensive, I think.
So what do you think is better?
I like Papa John's pretty well. I do think that sometimes a little too much garlic can come across.
It does get a little bit oily.
Yeah, no, the oil.
Though I haven't had Jet's
oiliest
pizza.
one. To be honest, I know they probably have made some changes in the past, but Pizza Hut has always hit me as the oiliest. Like I could take paper towel and lay it across the pizza, and slightly dab it, and
from what I remember of the one or two times maybe that earlier in my childhood that we had Pizza Hut, but I remember we only had Pizza Hut once before. We had the square pizzas, and I remember the edges were very crispy, and I will say, it's oily, and then it had cheese with the pepperoni.
Yes, I mean
but it was the toasted cheese. I don't really like that. Specifically texture-wise, the layering.
I know one that you're probably not going to like, and I just want to talk about that for 1 minute, and we can move on. It's called Chicago-style pizza. I have had Chicago-style, the thinner crust pizza. It's called thin crust, Chicago-style. That's not bad. They cut it into squares instead of slices. They also call it tavern-style because people would eat it in a bar, because you drink too. But it's not bad. I don't have a problem with thin crust. The problem is the stuffed deep pan or deep dish. How do I explain this? It's got the dough, right? And it's cooked real like almost like a cheesecake deep. And inside of it has got the meat and cheese. And they take the sauce and they put it over the top. I know that sounds kind of weird.
Yeah,
the sauce is not on the inside.
I feel texturing wise, but I feel like it might place it a lot closer to a pie, because that is what a pizza ultimately is a meat pie.
Yes, exactly. What I'll leave you with is
but that is if you I don't know, solidify the tomato sauce to be the top of the crust.
Well, famous
to talk less about pizza, because this is ultimately not a pizza podcast.
It isn't.
Too much.
I was going to give you a quick little quote from Jon Stewart of The Daily Show. Real quick. Of course, I cut out all the curse words and stuff because he really got upset. Because he's from New York, so he really defended New York style. But he says deep dish pizza is not only better than New York pizza, it's not pizza. It's a casserole. I'm surprised you haven't thought to complete your deep dish pizza by putting some canned onion rings on top. It's a cornbread biscuit, which you've melted cheese on, and then in defiance of God and man and all things holy, you poured uncooked marinara sauce atop the cheese. Naked and cold. This is not pizza, this is tomato soup in a bread bowl. This is an above-ground marinara swimming pool for rats.
Okay, I feel like that's descriptive of the raw pizza, but not the actual pizza.
The uncooked marinara.
And then secondarily, casseroles are a lot more freeform. Pizza is actually very structured.
He says it's very cold in Chicago, so what do you do? Like,
it should very simply be one layer of cheese and then one layer of toppings, and then a crust.
It's crust, sauce, cheese,
That's
meat.
It. Casseroles are more varied in the ingredients that you encounter, but obviously, as you know, a lot of as you probably are an adult or have experience with cooking or eating food, you probably know.
Well,
that. He doesn't.
This guy said you get that he guesses that it's very cold in Chicago because you want to be able to have a pizza you can cut open and get inside like a tauntaun to keep you warm, which I thought that was a great line. All right,
okay. Well, I want to bring it back to Little Caesars Pizza in particular because I want to know what the our opinion is of relatively cheaper pizzas, such as Fazoli's Pizza.
Fazoli's is fine.
And then also comparison with Domino's, because Domino's is the only other really popular brand that we got.
Little Caesars Pizza, I'm sorry, it's cheap. It's not anything to write home about. It's not anything where you go like, it's the best. No, look, you went there because somebody cooked it ahead of time, put it in a little, heat sleeve or whatever, a little, heated area, so you can come and get in like 10 pizzas. It's the kind of pizza that a church youth league would get, or group, or something. Yeah,
it's the people who don't know pizza that well, but know prices that well.
No, they use cheap ingredients.
It serves its cause as a pizza, and it's not, compared to other various brands, it's not as flamboyant. So it's not like they.
Is Little Caesars better than CC's?
Is
Little Caesars better than CC's? I don't.
CC's, I think, is
kind of jank.
Childhood nostalgia speaking to me. I don't actually remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember CC's.
Childhood nostalgia aside, and arcades.
All I remember is they had a chocolate pizza, and I ate a slice, and that was.
They had arcades. Remember that? So yeah.
Oh, Chuck E. Cheese pizza. We should talk about that one on the line of cheap pizzas.
I haven't had Chuck E. Cheese's.
I hear it's really like sugary, as in it's like really sweet pizza.
Oh, there's a
like to attract.
Well,
kids.
there's a style of pizza that you actually has a little bit of sweetness in the tomato sauce. That's what you probably refer to.
I've had sweet pizza before from the various pizza adventures we've had recently, because in particular, my dad has been raiding the frozen food aisle this week. But in terms of like, I've had a sweet pizza, and honestly, it's not that great.
No.
I feel like it just takes away. You can taste the sweetness of the tomato sauce more than any other thing, and I don't like the imbalance. Chuck E. Cheese pizza, away. And plus, I don't even know if they do pepperoni pizza.
They do, but honestly, it's just, where else are you going to go? Like the pizza, you're really there for.
Yeah, the kids gotta have.
You're
something.
there for the games. You're there for the skee ball, and then.
And they're there to get germs, because they say how like unsanitary the place is, and imagine like all that pizza that probably landed.
Yeah, all it would take is a murder occurring at a Chuck E. Cheese's, and it is now Freddy Fazbear's land. So yeah.
Amazing. Where have we gone? Domino's Pizza. Honestly, people say it's not as good as other pizzas, but I will say the one thing that ups it for me is the various spices that are contained in the crust, the garlickiness.
Like a Parmesan
I don't know specifically
kind of
what
crust,
it is.
Yeah.
No, I don't taste the cheesiness. We're already 20 minutes in. We're already like 25 minutes in.
Hey, we're having fun here.
Okay. But that's one thing that brings it up for me. Let's get into the actual movie, because I guess this episode has been full of juicy goodness. And Fazoli's Pizza. Honestly, I don't even know. It's a spaghetti place. And they make the pizza. I don't know. And also, I've never had a Subway pizza, which I might want to rectify.
Those are okay.
But I don't think I think they're very similar.
I like specialty places where they go, okay,
okay, they just don't taste like
brick onion.
Taste, like light
brick
flavor.
Onion places are good.
I guess that's where like Little Caesars feeling, where it's like, you get the cheapness, but it's like at the same time Fazoli's is not a place for pizza.
No, not really. If you're going like, let's go out for some pizza, you don't think Fazoli's. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry Fazoli's fans. We don't hate Fazoli's, but yeah.
And then also we have not had like Papa Murphy's or Devani's.
I don't know what Devani's is, but I know that Papa Murphy's is basically they build the pizza there for you cold, and they wrap it up, and you take it home and you cook it.
And
yes.
You heat it up? Okay, I don't. That is unloading amount of customer service that I
is
didn't
that the
expect.
you know when you go to Walmart
go
or you go to like something like that, and they allow you to check out your own stuff.
It's the same feeling as if you're
checkout.
going to like a mall or a department store or something, and it's like, always keep aware for in case children are getting assaulted in the halls. Thank you for being helpful to society. And it's like, okay, I was thinking that if I saw someone stealing something, maybe I would call the authorities. But, it's just a lot of responsibility to, go like, you're helping the police out in a very particularly terrible thing.
I don't know if
my whole point is you're going into a pizza to heat up the pizza yourself. Is putting responsibility upon the user that the user does not usually ask for, especially in the modern age.
I get you now that you've explained it, but the first part of it, you lost me. But that's fine. I love it.
But yeah, if there's like a mall advertisement that's like, keep the peace and I don't know, like stop something big, like be environmentalist, or
it's a lot of responsibility,
stop riots
to put on you.
It's like okay, I'm probably comfortable enough to call 911 when I see someone stealing a bag, but
I know what you're talking
riots
about.
And protecting the entire world.
Only you can prevent forest fires. Only you can cook this uncooked pizza yourself and not burn it. Don't burn it.
It's a lot of responsibility on the one person. That's what I'm trying to say.
Because if you take it home and you burn it, you ruined the whole night for everybody. Just because And again, I'm a guy with ADD. William's got some ADHD going on. I'm sure one or both of us would probably burn it if we had to bring it home and cook it. I'm just saying. So
for the people who wanted a movie podcast,
too bad.
Too bad.
This is our April Fool's episode. No, I'm kidding.
Movie starts about like they go to eat spaghetti at a diner. And the two.
Yes, but why they're at the diner is there with it. The movie starts out with Joe Massara. The movie starts out with a kind of a quick little crime. It's just like a couple seconds long and doesn't show you what's happening. But it looks like a gas station gets robbed, and I didn't know why they did this, but they went to the diner. And Rico, the main guy played by Edward G. Robinson, he turns the time backwards, and it's to create an alibi because they're basically going, we've been here the whole time.
I want to say that with the gas station and diner here, we get a lot of atmosphere that the Public Enemy was missing. We have, they're playing poker. It's like, the diner atmosphere, especially is very cool. And then Italiano spaghetti.
They're eating the most Italian thing you could possibly do, which is spaghetti and coffee. That's it. So they're both Italian. So it's Rico Bandello and Joe Massara, played by Douglas Fairbanks Jr. You definitely can see a little bit of his father's face in his face, but Douglas Fairbanks Jr. I think has a bigger smile and a more of that Hollywood. I wouldn't say Hollywood hunk, but that face that could get those ladies wanting to go see, because you have to be a certain kind of a character, like a Clark Gable or a Cary Grant. You have to have that certain kind of appeal to not only have the guys be like, I like that guy's awesome, and the ladies going, I like that guy, he's handsome, or he's a cute guy. So Douglas Fairbanks Jr. had that going on, and I think that he tried to use that a lot of different ways, but he also wanted it to be taken seriously too.
Yeah, although there's a lot of competition for ladies, if getting into the movie here, we get into their like club where they hang out a lot. We see this eye-shaped sign in particular many times whenever we go to this location to sort of set up, okay, we're in this location. Here we get the cast of the movie, the gang, there's
Palermo, Palermo. They go back and forth between a lot with the Palermo Club, Cub and the Bronze Peacock. The Bronze Peacock kind of has a more of the, I feel like it's more upper crust feel, but there's still a gangster there. It's Arnie Lorch. The thing about Rico is, just to start out with, is he wants to be somebody. He wants to be somebody that'll, like, he said, I'll look hard at somebody and they'll just do what you tell them to do.
Yeah, money's all right, but it ain't everything. Now, be somebody. Look hard at a bunch of guys and know that they'll do anything you tell them. Have your own way or nothing. Be somebody.
Because you're the man. He wants to be the man. He really does. He likes the fact that the earlier he's reading a newspaper. It says Underworld pays respect to Diamond Pete Montana, which is another criminal guy that's over the top of them. It's like there's this hierarchy. You at the top you got like this guy named Big Boy, and then below him you've got Diamond Pete Montana, and
then you've
Arnie
got
Lorch
this gang that he is joining,
Vittori,
which comparatively to the Public Enemy, where it was literally just Tom and
Mike. Matt Doyle.
You're kidding me. I keep doing that. I keep mixing up their names because they're too similar.
One syllable and starts with the same letter and 4 letters. Yeah.
Who knows? I was like, Matt gives me a more older brotherly feeling, I guess. But yeah, we get an actual gang in this one, and it's interesting because it's like the Public Enemy did not have a gang per se. It was just the two of them going about their lives. There was Nails
Nathan, and then you also saw a couple
But
guys.
those are like the bosses. They're not a gang. This, where we actually get sort of, a personality.
There's a couple of characters, like, I would say, in terms of other characters that are interesting to watch.
Like, even if they don't provide a decent role or have personalities in and of themselves, it's still good to see a gang there, which is what I'm hoping out of a gangster movie.
You got
really much, as well as the atmosphere of the gangster movie, and especially the man who created the gangster voice himself.
As far as gangster guys that I thought were interesting, they gave them something to do. You got Otero, I think it would be number 1. Tony Pasa, I'll tell you who that is in a minute. And then I would say Scabby. Well, Scabby doesn't do much, but he does a little bit. But anyway, back to this. So Rico wants to be a part of Sam Vittori's gang, and he wants to let him know that there's nothing soft about him. He's not, that Rico's not yellow. Vittori is like, be careful with that gun because I know that you are a guy that likes to shoot off.
I guess you're good with a rod, too, huh?
Yeah, quick with it, that's what I am, and sure.
Well, I don't go around here. That's old stuff. This ain't the States.
And ask questions later. I give the order. We do this whenever we do a crime. We do the split. We do it my way. I think Rico does not like to share the spotlight. He's kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. But he always
he wants to own the spotlight.
Yeah,
he wants the limelight.
He always
on
thinks that he can do a better job. They go through the gang, and you find out there's Tony Pasa, who's the driver. There's Otero. He's little, but he's the goods, all right. Which, okay, but Otero just basically becomes later, Rico's yes man. He's like, you can do it, Rico. You're getting big in the world. He's that guy. There's and these other guys, I have no idea what they do, but it's Killer Peppy, which is and Kid Bean, which sound like boxer names.
Oh yeah. Actually, that reminds me of and to give an example of a varied cast that, although they're not fleshed out too much in terms of like, very much importance of the story and everything. The cast from Punch-Out, which is a boxing video game
Little Mac.
where back in the old days, you fight your way
Glass
to the top.
Joe.
You fight, this cast of, Glass Joe, Piston Hurricane, Bald Bull, Mr. Sandman, Bear Hugger, Soda Popinski, Super Macho Man, Von Kaiser.
You're taking me back. King Hippo,
Mr. Dream.
You're taking me back.
Oh no, not Mr. Dream. Huh, interesting. Mr. Dream is not an actual character because he was a replacement in a later game for Mike Tyson himself.
Yes, because I think they didn't have the license to keep going with Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson, when he got bigger and bigger and bigger, he wanted more money, and I guess they just went, okay, bye.
Yeah, so there's this huge cast of characters that all of which have they all have personalities. See, Glass Joe, he's like this blonde dude, he's very skinny. Of course, he's a glass
He also has a glass jaw, which is, if you catch him in the jaw at the right spot, he's done. And King Hippo.
He also
like
seems to be sort of a French stereotype, I guess. Apparently.
Okay.
You've got Mr. Sandman. He's from Philadelphia.
Which is a personality type. I don't understand how that's a personality type.
No, I need to get a picture.
Mr. Sandman is probably going to put you to sleep. That's because he'll knock you out. All those things are little elements in terms of their style. But that's more than you get with some of these guys, like Killer Pepe and Kid Bean. I have no idea what they do. So back to this. There's another club. It's a gambling club called the Bronze Peacock, and it's run or financed by a gangster named Little Arnie Lorch. Joe Massara, he's buddy.
Yeah,
he wants to be a dancer. He's got to dance.
Very early in the movie, he was established to wanting to be a dancer. However, being a gangster is also getting in the way of that.
And Joe has
what happens next? They're having a confrontation.
Well, Joe has he really likes Olga, and he's like, I want to. He fell for her really quick.
This is going to be real, huh? We'll make it mean something.
Yeah, Joe. Nick.
Because I need somebody like you. Awful bad.
That sounds like a song. She finds there's a gun in his coat, and she's like, "Oh, okay, that's what you do on the side." He's like, "It's just my good luck charm, But once you're in the gang, I never saw a guy who could get out." Now, Arnie Lorch is kind of a has a little bit of a gangster stuff to him too, which is interesting. He has respect for Diamond Pete, but doesn't like Vittori. But Rico is kind of buddy with Vittori, and it becomes his bodyguard and his trigger man. There's a discussion between some of the gangsters, but they have to make Rico stand outside because he's a little bit he's a little bit hardcore, right? Montana's talking about this crackdown that's happening. The police commissioner McClure is cracking down, and they're like, okay, Big Boy, the main gangster guy, he's like, we need to chill out on the violence because it's gonna make McClure get nervous because he says,
now the big boy wants me to tell you guys to put the chains on your gorillas for the next few months, because if any of them go too far, it'll be just too bad.
Yeah, and also the interesting thing throughout all these various arguments that proceed over into the 20-minute mark of the movie, where they get into where they capture the club while they're having a party.
Yeah, they're planning the heist.
There's also sort of the introduction of this cop guy.
Yeah,
right?
There's two cop guys. There's the commissioner, police commissioner. That's McClure. That's the guy that gets shot in the heist, by Rico, kind of either because Rico just shoots off, at the mouth with the gun, whatever he's got.
I'm talking about the one who survives.
That's Flaherty. That's the guy who becomes kind of the main, good guy toward the end.
I wanted to say it's interesting throughout this movie, their interactions with him. He's along with the police force and the press, and he's like pushing at them.
Yes.
He's pushing at them that one false move and you're gone. But the thing is, he doesn't arrest them, despite later on in the movie, there is a point where they're all in a party. They're all going to this place, and they're all in a crowd, and he can't do anything about it, particularly to Rico especially.
Oh, the banquet.
I feel like that's interesting.
We'll get to that part. So there, people are like, why do we need Joe Massara? I don't know why we need him. He goes, we do need him. He's the best guy in the world to, he's kind of more upper crust than us. He can order a suite.
Upper crust.
Back to the pizza comments, but he's like, basically he can order a suite. He says he can order a suite if he wanted to, and nobody says anything about it. Can't pull this job without him. But that's because Joe Massara works there, and supposedly he's like, I don't know about this. He's like, you're gonna do this job, and you're gonna give the high sign. The high sign is when we know we can come in there and take the joint. That's all he's got to do, really.
So long story short, they do capture that bar.
But the guy who made the guy who made the plans was Rico, and Vittori was his boss, and was like, I make the plans, right? So you could see they were kind of chest bumping a little bit. If you think about it, Rico is pushing the boundaries of authority again, and he basically trying to see, but it's interesting how they relate to each other after that. After that heist, McClure gets shot, and he's like, hey, I had to do it. What did you make the plans, or did you just sit back here in your cushy chair playing solitaire? He's really showing, he goes, yeah, you want some of this? And then Vittori's like, no.
What am I going to do?
Well, why don't you go and give yourself up? You're slipping, Sam.
So it ends up that, the split because they split the money, and he's like, I'm doing the split my way. You got a problem with that? And he's like, okay. So it ends up that Vittori and Rico kind of becomes the de facto leader of Vittori's group in a way. And he seems to be okay with it because they're laughing at with each other later. They seem to not be so evil to each other. I guess that's how it all shook out. So what ends up happening is after the heist happened and they went back to the main back room of the Palermo club where Vittori is, somebody had to do the getaway car or hide the car or whatever. And that was Tony Passa. And Tony Passa is kind of a young guy. He's kind of scared about all this, and everybody's, he's like, Rico's even saying, was he yellow? Is he scared? We don't need anybody soft like this on this. There's this macho thing with this guy.
Yeah, and this gets with the Rico and Joe actually reflect this because he's like, are you yellow bellied? Are you soft? Because he's starting to rebel against and
the thing is,
and that's
there's
not
a lot of
here.
things that Rico says, is he doesn't like when someone's soft, he doesn't like when someone's yellow, he doesn't like when somebody is conditioned but can't take it or something like that.
He also then later accuses Sam of being yellow.
Well, yeah.
And so is like, I'm gonna take your organization.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So the car gets crashed by Tony Passa, and he leaves the car. Flaherty finds the car and is like, let me go talk to Sam Vittori about this. And so he comes in and questions Sam Vittori. This is the cop that kind of starts pushing these leads with this. But Rico has been taking orders from Vittori for too long, and everybody starts kind of shifting toward that. And then you get these little phrases that Rico says.
Sam, you can dish it out, but you're getting so you can't take it no more. You're through.
So I was like, I kept thinking, when he says you're through to somebody, I'm like, that's got to be, in the world of this movie, that's like the worst thing you could say when somebody's through. And I'm like, okay, I can't relate. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like that bad of an insult. But hey, I'm not a 1930s gangster, so what do I know? Tony actually is feeling bad about being a gangster. It's not awesome to be a gangster. But he is at home and he's sad and his mama comes through. It's so Italian. This is such an Italian cliche scene. So the mom's like, you don't look so good, Tony, don't you remember when you used to go to church?
Why you don't sleep? You're sick, baby. I have some spaghetti for you on the stove.
With the father, with the priest,
very
Father
Italian
MacLeod.
moment.
And used to have long hair and used to be
But yeah, this actually doesn't seem to do much for the
No,
story.
it doesn't. But what it does is it makes it where if anybody is, I don't know, has any kind of morals where they're like, this is where you start seeing where characters that don't agree with how violent Rico is getting and this whole life and how it's getting out of control. Tony actually makes a good decision. He's like, I'm going to go talk to the priest, get back to my roots and my family and my faith. Okay, what's wrong with that? But see, those little things like that, and where a guy goes, well, I'm not going to be a gangster, I'm going to be a dancer. Anytime you start going like straight like that, is what they call it. And then
going yellow.
Rico's going to get you.
So he yells about him over this, and then what happens next?
Otero tries to get Tony to not go the way he's going. He's like, what are you doing? You're going to get branded as yellow. And he's like, I go see the priest. So Otero goes back and gets Rico, and they take a little drive. And what do you know? They find Tony Passa walking up this is a good little set. I'm telling you, a little scene. He walking up the steps, and they blow him away. And so after that, though, they have a funeral procession for him. Flaherty is standing on the side of the road, staring daggers into Rico's car, giving him the stink eye. You then get to a banquet later on, which is kind of in Rico.
Which is a much more iconic set because this is where we get the press is noticing Rico, and Rico likes
but not only that, did you notice that when Rico is talking to Montana, Pete Montana, and he goes, hey, don't you want to get your picture taken over here? There's got some photographers, and he's like,
I
hadn't had my picture taken in 15 years. And if you think about it, wait a minute, he's been doing gangster stuff for 15 years because he stayed out of the newspapers, because he stays, away from the photographers and the press.
What do you think of that, huh? Sure, send him in, only tell him to make it snappy.
I'll see you later, Rico.
Oh, don't go away, Pete. Well, yeah, we're going to have our pictures taken.
I haven't had my picture taken in the last 15 years.
But Rico's eating it up. He's like, and it's from the very first scene where it said that underworld gangsters were giving, props to Montana. He's like, yeah, I want that. He wants that recognition. He wants to be seen, as a big guy, because he's little Caesar, but he wants to be seen as a big emperor. Friendship and loyalty, they have those written on the little handout that they had, so they're having a good old time. But if you think about it, he's not really good at giving speeches. He starts telling people to, lay off the booze. He doesn't drink. He's late. He keeps telling them to lay off the booze, and they're throwing food. Here's the thing: you can have lots of money and think that you're awesome and stuff, but you can't stop being crude. If you're crude inside, it doesn't matter what world you try to move into. You're going to be crude.
They're gangsters.
Yeah, but wait a minute. There's some gangsters in here, like Big Boy and everything. They comport themselves and they act like big rich people because they are big rich people. But you can never take, because Rico never fully works in that world. He doesn't know how to act. He's still crude. He's still streets, right? He's still that street level guy.
Yeah, and he's the type of guy who would diamond encrust all of his furniture.
Yes, and there's a scene later with Big Boy that proves that Rico doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. So at the end of the banquet, Flaherty shows up and he's like,
You're getting up in the world, aren't you, Rico?
The downstairs is open to anybody, even cops. But the upstairs is private.
Thanks. But I like to keep my eye on you, Rico. You see, I'm your friend.
And they gave him a watch. They gave Rico a watch. Everybody's like, hey, we all got together and get your watch. And then Flaherty's like, well, did you hear that there was a
the
really
watch was
expensive
stolen.
watch, right? Okay. So in the newspaper, something similar to what it said when it said Underworld gives a big send off to Pete Montana. Well, they did the same thing for him. It says Little Caesar Bandello given testimonial by followers. And it's like, is that news? But the thing is, though, he's like, I'm in the newspaper. And he goes to the news guy and buys like 10 of them. And he's like, it's all about me. Yeah. So he starts walking. So what ends up happening is Joe overhears Arnie Lorch talking about, we got to stop this guy. He's cutting in on my territory. We got to kill him. So that's exactly what they do is Joe tries to spread the word and to Otero and say that, Rico's going to get shot. So Rico is walking down the street. He's just like la-di-da. He does think one car is going to shoot him, and he's like, okay, it's fine. But there's this like a milk van, like a dairy truck or whatever. These guns come out the side of it and blow him away. Of course, he didn't really. Okay, don't blow him away. He gets shot in the arm. Okay, just a slight wound. And he's like. Fine shots you are.
And then he comes over, he being the newspaper, though.
Yeah, Flaherty.
And he's like, you should be more careful. And this is where he's in a crowd. He's like, you can't touch him and anything. And especially like at the party, he can't touch the mafia at all. They're very publicly there. I keep saying mafia,
close enough,
but they're a gang. He can't touch the gang, even though they're there very proudly on the second floor of the place. They're very proudly there, and but he can't do anything about them.
So he found out, so Rico finds out that Joe made the call that saved his life, which I don't understand how that worked out. He's like, I didn't think he cared enough. So he's going to give him a chance on another job.
And this is where Joe is probably going to tell him about little Arnie, his plan.
Yeah, he already did.
And so they go.
They're going to go see Arnie and pay.
Visit,
they go to the importer. They go to the importer exporter and they
play a game of marbles.
They sneak in, kind of do like a hold up. They pull guns on him, and he says, "You're through, Arnie. It gets so you can't take it." I don't know what.
Arnie, you ought to have better sense than to hire a couple of outside yaps, especially bad shots.
Come on, what is it? Let's have it.
Arnie, you're through. You hire these mugs, they miss. Now you're through. If you ain't out of town by tomorrow morning, you won't never leave it except in a pine box.
And ends up that Arnie leaves town and goes to Detroit. And that gets in the newspaper, of course.
And then Big Boy gives all of his stock
like that,
to Rico.
Right. Well,
and then he
Rico starts
accruing
dressing better. He's got the tuxedo.
Everything is diamond encrusted.
Is like, oh, you're the best. You're just the best, buddy. And he's like, yeah, the bigger they are, the bigger they come, the harder they fall. You ain't doing so bad in this business. Yeah. See, he's in the mirror, that mirror scene where he's like looking at himself, and he's starting to really kind of get classy.
And additionally, he is also further realizing how much Joe is a liability to him because, of course, he knows about him and he's on the outside and he's worried that he is going to be told upon potentially or figured out upon by Joe.
Rico goes and visits Big Boy, who's like the big...
Or people will find out about him through Joe.
Big Boy's the top dog. His mansion is huge, humongous. It's like it's almost like Citizen Kane big. So he goes over to Big Boy's house, and he's just like, he's smoking a cigar, and he's knocking the ashes on the ground, and he says, "I don't drink," whatever. That's fine. But there's a part where he looks at the painting, and Big Boy says, "Oh, it's $15,000," and Rico says, "Oh yeah, those golden frames must really put you back." Rico doesn't understand that you pay $15,000 because of the art. It doesn't have anything to do with the frame.
That's interesting.
He does not understand.
I did not consider that. Did you get that from anywhere?
Yeah, I did actually. I watched the movie one more time, but it pointed out that I was reading the script, and that's what hit me is he mentions the frame, and it's like the frame was gold. And it's like, no, the painting is why it's so expensive. Because art is something to be treasured.
A picture is worth 1,000 words,
or
and
$50,000.
I guess 1,000 words is $10,000.
Right, but he goes like,
we really need a statement for that, actually, to equate art to money, or rather, words to money.
Well, what ends up happening is
words take up time, and time is money. I don't know.
If you watch the scene, it looks like Rico is like sitting on the edge of the chair. He's just he doesn't know how to sit. He's not high class. He thinks he is. But end up happening though. He says, a Big Boy says, Pete Montana's through. Again, that line again. And he says, what if I told you were Pete Montana? You get to have his territory. When you want to shake on it, so they shake on it. That's like he's going to be running the whole town. Otero's like, yeah, pretty soon.
Yeah, as I said, he has his territory now.
Yeah, so somebody in Detroit got to Flaherty and told him to start working on a dancer at the Bronze Peacock if he wanted to find out who shot McClure. The guy in Detroit must be Arnie, because he said, the guy in Detroit. I was like, that's got to be Arnie. So Arnie is like taking revenge and dropping a line and saying that's the guy you need to go talk to. And Joe shows up at Rico's apartment, which is now super richy looking. And Rico does the same thing. He's like, would you like a cigar? Would you like a cocktail or a dash of brandy? He's doing the same things that Big Boy was saying.
And this is where he starts yelling at him?
Well, yeah, he's saying, that's where he starts saying, yeah, dancing's all right for a sideline, but it gives you a swell front, but ain't my idea of a man's game. So he's kind of making fun of him, saying you're not a real man, you're kind of a sissy, and that's really not nice to Joe. So ends up happening that Joe is there. Rico goes out in the next room, and he's talking on the phone to it's either Big Boy or somebody, and he said, and somebody is suggesting somebody to be your secondhand man. He's like, no, I got this guy my eye on this guy that's I've known for a long time, and his name is Joe. And Joe's like, nerp, and he just nerps out there. He heads out. He's like, I'm out. So that's when he decides that he's going to go talk to Olga.
And rather by that, play a game of marbles. Best flicker in the West.
Yes. And in a way, he's kind of threatening Olga. He's like, I would kill her.
Yeah, and this is one of the most interesting scenes.
Yes.
Especially one of the most important scenes for Glenda Farrell, who's the actor for Olga Stasov.
Yeah.
And she is communicating with Joe Massera. They're talking about, like, what are we going to do? Rico is coming. What can we do about it? And she's like, well, I don't think we can run. So, but she does eventually call for help. I'm going to point something to you.
Okay.
Something in particular.
Yeah.
So, John Wick, the Baba Yaga, one of the most skilled hitmen there are in fiction. He wants you dead. He is coming to bang your door down. And imagine that instead of Rico, this is John Wick.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Here, okay? Actually, additionally, along with what would you do in this situation, who would you have alongside you as your Olga? It could be anybody, preferably not a fictional character, because otherwise you could be like, oh, I have Spider-Man to help save me. Or like, I don't know, like someone like the Punisher.
Jonah, your mystery man? His name's Frank Castle. He's a self-styled vigilante. Calls himself the Punisher. He's wanted by the FBI, and even the CIA want him for questioning in the disappearances of various crime figures.
A crime fighter, huh?
The Punisher is quite a man.
Wow.
So I don't think, superhumans would be quite fair in this discussion.
No, the Punisher's not superhuman, but he's just really good with weapons. He's a trained killer.
Like, if you have another weapons guy and another trained killer with you, or another trained weapons guy with you. Who would I stop
John Wick with? Oh my goodness,
Yeah, imagine this is John Wick here.
I don't know.
John Wick is coming into your, I don't know, suburban house on a platform, wherever they live.
Well, the thing about Olga is she's saying, Olga in this case is saying we need to turn state's evidence. We need to call Flaherty and tell him, what's going on. Basically we need to just not run because he's just going to find us.
But what would you do in this situation?
I'd have to set a trap for him, because if they're coming to kill me, I'd have to set a trap for John Wick. But I'm telling you, if John Wick has his mind up that you're going to die, there's nothing you can do. Do I have to go hire Agent 47, the hitman guy? Who am I going to get? I don't know. There's a lot of, stone cold killers out there, but I can't think of any that's as good as John Wick. At least not as memorable. What, Daredevil? You start to get into some crazy. What Wolverine? You need to really get somebody awesome.
Yeah, we're saying a really good killer dude is going to go into your home. And you could have anybody with you, preferably not a fictional character, because we don't want, like, Superman,
So
like Superman, like anything.
So they've already called the police, and Rico and Otero bust in the door, and Rico starts coming toward Joe.
Though another thing, is to consider, the running option, like particularly against a guy such as John Wick. You're going to be like, The Running Man, which is a Stephen King novel about this dude. It's about he joins a game show, and the game show is run away from us and you get money. But it turns real when everyone is wanting him dead. The audience is wanting him dead.
The movie had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
I guess particularly the movie, because it does not look like it's faithful to the book.
Here is Sub-Zero! Now, Plane Zero!
What I'm saying is, could you play the Running Man here against Rico? What do you think?
And just keep running. I don't know. I don't know if anybody could stop him. But are we getting off?
I think we're in Chicago, so it's likely that there's a large amount of land to the left of you, but it'd probably be less land as if you go east. But there's also a good fair ways south, because you could run all the way to Peru.
Are we in Chicago? Because it says we're, this is either New York or Chicago. We don't know which one it is.
Yeah, it's somewhere where there's a way to run either east or south in particular.
I would say south.
Yeah, definitely head south. So I don't know why that's funny to me. Just hike it on down south like cowboys. But
exactly.
It's like, you probably have to set traps like along the way. Yeah, I guess you have to turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger in this situation.
Yes.
But then it's like, Chicago, if we were Chicago, there are lots of metro systems that lead everywhere. So either that's an advantage or a disadvantage for you, because either the advantage is you can get on a metro and go anywhere fast. Disadvantage is he can get on a metro and go anywhere fast.
True.
So, I guess, honestly, I don't have enough, I haven't put this into enough consideration to consider, like, the variables in this, what if you were Arnold Schwarzenegger? It's all interesting stuff, but I guess, honestly, there isn't too much, with running that you could do, especially if you're not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, he said that, that you're gonna get caught.
But I just wanted to think about this situation, because see here, the end of it all is that, he does not make it alive. I believe Olga does.
Wait, Olga! Joe! There he is, the yellow double crosser. Give it to him, Rico.
No.
Shoot, Rico. Get it over with. Come on, Otero, let's go. You're getting soft, too.
Rico is being hunted down by the police. What happens with this famous cease?
Rico does shoot. He gets close up on him, but he can't kill him.
Yeah, so his boss, his henchman dude he has on the side, he shoots him instead.
Yeah, Otero.
So
he shoots him, and Rico moves his arm, and the bullet grazes Joe in the right arm. The police drive up, and both of them run out.
Yeah, he
on the fire
hides in
escape,
like
and
this. Is she like a Romani descent woman who is hiding him in a secret passageway?
But see, Rico escapes. Right, Rico escapes, and Otero gets shot to death. So Rico is like a fugitive in hiding. Yeah, he hides in a fruit store with this old lady. And
he also hides in this place with
she asks for money.
Beds, or not bunk beds. They're a place with a lot of beds for free or really cheap. Sorry. And but the thing is, his ego is what gets a hold of him because there's a dude reading a newspaper about how he fell off.
That's months later. It says months pass.
Wow.
Yeah. So
But he fell off.
There's a homeless guy and he's reading, or somebody. He's reading, an old guy, and he's reading out the bit in the newspaper that says that
Listen, Little Caesar has never been found. According to the statement of Lieutenant Thomas Flaherty of the Homicide Squad, Little Caesar, the once swaggering braggart of the underworld, wilted in the face of real danger and showed the world his cowardice. Flaherty stated further that Little Caesar has contradicted his oft-repeated boast that he could dish it out and take it, too. When a real crisis arose, Rico couldn't take it.
And then Rico is just like, he's making these, like, snarling noises, which is kind of like,
yeah, and so he's like, his ego gets the better of him, and so he calls to them, being like, yo, what are you saying about me, boy? And he's like, trace the call. So he done made a big mistake, and he gets traced.
He
gets chased over to...
Flaherty did that on purpose. Yeah, he knew that if he kept pushing at it and putting it in the newspapers, that he found his weakness, and so so the phone call gets traced.
Which by
to
the way
warehouse
reminds me of a situation from a very similar sort of series in terms of tone.
Okay.
Death Note has a part where, of course, Death Note is about a dude who gets a note that you can kill anyone.
It's a book.
With this.
It's a book.
And
you write somebody's name in the book and they die of like a heart attack or something.
He makes a trap for him in particular, which is to go, hey, my name is made up name. I live in this particular place, or he is broadcasting from our particular place.
Yeah.
And so he is actually bait for him, who he is posing as a criminal on this television, as a criminal who is very bad. The main character's name is Light. He does not like criminals, so he gets him with the Death Note, but that was bait, because that was not his actual, name. It wasn't his actual place, but they do know where the TV was broadcasting, because it's broadcasting in specific places at specific times. They know where he is now. So that sort of reminded me of this.
The main character was like a vigilante, with writing somebody's name
baiting based
in that
on
book.
their inward, like, personalities and things they hate, taking advantage of the ego, or it's a criminal, I can defeat him, easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Underestimate.
I can eat it. I can eat a chip dramatically.
Just watch me, Al. I'll solve equations with my right hand and write names with my left. I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
Now, okay, so the police are surrounding Rico, and he's actually hiding behind a poster that announces. It's a billboard for a little musical review starring who else but Olga and Joe. So Flaherty shoots the billboard with machine gun fire, and Rico did not surrender. He's dying, and his last line of Rico is he says, "Mother of mercy."
Mother of mercy. Is this the end of Rico?
And yeah, it is, and it's also the end of Little Caesar.
And then, interestingly, at the end, it is a section that also, similarly to The Public Enemy, advertises the Public Enemy, Tom Powers and the Public Enemy, and Rico and Little Caesar are not two men, nor are they merely characters. They are a problem that we, the public, must solve. And that might be familiar, because last episode, we talked about the end of that movie, The Public Enemy, had this exact same, they're not merely a character, a problem that we, the public, must solve. The people must solve. And I feel like that's interesting, because it's like...
I don't like
also,
that. I think they need to
they know
leave
about
that
that movie, and they said the same exact thing.
Yeah, and I don't like the fact they have these at the beginning and the end of these movies. I know that it's a product of its own time.
In this case, there's nothing about that at the beginning, just
characters.
at the end, which is, I guess, a step in the right direction.
Well, at the beginning, they showed a quote from the Bible, which, sometimes that's the marker of a pretentious movie, but it said the one who lives by the sword will die by the sword. Like, ooh, if you use a Bible verse, you're trying to give it more weight. You're like, ooh, we're really edgy, real dramatic. But yeah,
or rather,
a lot of
they're
movies
saying
did
because
that.
they're using the Bible, which is a symbol of a religion of purity of light that is obviously against gangster morals.
Your judgment for your sins. Your sins will find you out.
And that's probably why they're going like,
Caesar,
we the Christians are against you, the gangsters.
Caesar is also a Roman name, right? And this guy's name is Caesar Enrico Bandello, Little Caesar, which is interesting because the fall of Rome, maybe, and then you get the fall of Caesar.
Lots of interesting stuff. And, especially to note the, we talked about the situation of, what if John Wick was after you? Or, this is a mafia dude who is determined to have you dead. He is powerful. And, we honestly couldn't really explore it too much in depth, but I certainly tried. I got inspired by, reading various, forum posts. And they were like, John Wick is after you. Who would you have with you? How do you defeat him? Stuff like that. I was inspired.
Did you read any names of things that other people chose?
Yeah, they were like, the Punisher. They were. Let's see if I can pull up any specific ones. Of course, they bring up, Agent 47, the Hitman, Deathstroke.
Deathstroke's one of the greatest assassins ever. He's like, what if Batman decided to be a killer assassin? That's what Deathstroke is.
Someone chose Galactus.
What? Galactus would just eat the world, and then it would kill John Wick.
And then someone said the Terminator. And the
not
Red
bad.
Hood is the last one.
Yeah, well, Red Hood is Jason Todd.
In particular, they said this person we get T1000, TX, and T300 as examples. Of those are all the Terminators they mentioned.
You could choose any Terminator.
Someone said the Venom symbiote version, the assimilated Doctor Doom. The Venom assimilated Doctor Doom, which I feel like Doctor Doom.
When did that happen? Was that during the King in Black? Comic book
I don't
arc.
know, but I feel like Venom is very powerful. I haven't seen very much stuff with Doctor Doom. He gets really ignored, especially in the Marvel.
Well, they're gonna bring him up in the new Marvel.
Yeah, but
movies,
the Marvel
supposedly.
movies haven't covered him yet. What is Doctor Doom? What makes him special? Does he have any powers of any sort, or is it just henchman?
He does. Well, Doctor Doom. His face was disfigured in an accident. He blamed Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. And he is Latvian and partial royalty, right? But he wears this armor that he created. So he actually is a legit leader of a foreign country. He's got intelligence on the level of a Tony Stark. He also dabbles in sorcery. And he's also created a time travel machine.
Okay, so those are actually very key power levels, because you have intelligence, you have magic,
technology,
powerful technology and magic, and then brute
He's a
strength.
robot. He knows robotics.
To which
he knows
Venom
robotics.
is one of the most unchallenged villains of the pure strengthening. I mean, there are a lot. There's Killer Croc.
Yes.
You could probably name as one.
Yeah, or Bane.
Am I right?
When he's
Killer
really
Croc is
juiced up.
DC though, right?
Killer Croc is DC.
I meant the one that appears in Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Green Goblin? No. Okay, Amazing Spider-Man 1, the Lizard. The Lizard.
Yeah, him. I don't know.
The Lizard's pretty strong, but I think we are totally
off track.
I know.
We're into, faux situations, but it's just interesting to think about. Like, you have a dude who he's got all this power, all this wealth. He is determined to have you dead because, I don't know. I guess Rico is like a bit of like a chihuahua to me. Very, very determined, very, bark is worse than the bite, I guess. But he, he wasn't special in particular, but he just was so, greedy, and he was ferocious, and that's what put him on top for some reason.
It did. I understand the story, and I understand him. I still like Tom Powers' rise. He had a little bit more nuance to him. The next movie that we are going to see is Scarface.
Which, feel like, Scarface is probably going to be the best out of the ones we've seen yet, as it's just the formula. But I want to say, as I said before, this movie loses a strong character with Rico, as comparison to Tom Powers, who's developed more. But, it gains in achieving gangster atmosphere and having an actual gang, which I sorely missed. I'm like, what's a gangster movie without gangs? What's a heist movie without heists?
Right. But this one also has this next movie has a rise to power.
Public Enemy is more
and
iconic
a fall.
with the camera work, Tom Powers as a guy, and it's there's also interesting to say about both movies. As I said before, I'm interested in the government's response to, or not the government, you get what I mean, to knowing like the gang is having a party upstairs, but we can't do anything about it. We can't arrest them. I don't know particularly why it's convenience sake, I guess. But, they couldn't arrest him. They sure, talked up to Rico, but they couldn't arrest him. But they did at the end, though. That's what they did. But both... Yeah. The thing is that both movies waste potential with what they were holding on to. But the one key thing, though, that makes this point not stand as strong is that they couldn't have known. This is 1931. This is the start of gangster movies. They've hopped onto this phenomenon that everyone was throwing money at to see such great, novelizations turned to movie form that hadn't been done, but something that hadn't been done before. Something exciting, I guess. Okay. Both movies do not have any sense of true brotherhood in the gang because they don't flesh out the gang enough to have a true brotherhood. Also, both movies do not create interesting protagonists overall because they're just plain bad, There's no nuance to them. As compared to Joe Massera, I liked his nuance. So...
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens
with Scarface. What Scarface does to this, because... we've gone far long enough talking about pizza and John Wick, so we'll leave you to your work 24/7. We'll leave you to your 8 hours of work a day.
So, but we're glad that you joined us today, and we'll see you next episode. We'll be talking about.
I'm excited.
Scarface.
Take care. Bye, y'all.
Bye,
little childrens. Thanks for listening to Cinematic Fantastic Podcast. Click here and here for some more excellent content. Hope you'll enjoy it. See you soon.